Fujimoto-sensei has to be probably one of the weirdest and unique manga offers I have ever had the privilege to see. Because I have known about this series for a very long time. Fire Punch. I remember talking about this series years ago. Like, before Chainsaw Man was not even a thought probably in Fujimoto's head, I remember sitting down and reading the first chapter of Fire Punch, and I did a first impressions of it a long time ago. You can go back through my videos and find it. And I remember saying, wow, this is kind of a messed up series. It's edgy, it's messed up, etc. And eventually I stopped reading it because obviously I was waiting for chapters to come out, and I dropped it. And it's not that I hated it, not that I didn't like it or anything, I stopped reading it. And so years passed on by, and obviously the series reached a conclusion, and then eventually Chainsaw Man came out, and we all know the wave that is Chainsaw Man. It's become very popular in the anime community and manga community respectively, and so I decided to, do myself a favor, sit down and start Fire Punch, as you can see on screen. And this series is just, to put it point blank, it is a weird, unique, dark, and messed up series from Fujimoto. To kind of give clarity to all of this, basically, if there is one thing I have instantly noticed when it comes to Fire Punch, is that Fujimoto's overall taste and what he likes really shines on through this manga. What I mean by that is that if anyone remembers the one-shot that came out a while ago called Goodbye Eri, we got to see a one-shot story about a character that's basically recording a story, recording a movie or a mini-film, etc. And you can see that the overall taste that Fujimoto is as a person, like he likes movies and cinema, really rings true in a lot of his works, like for instance Goodbye Eri, but also Fire Punch, because literally there's a whole segment, like, in these chapters, like the early chapters, like I'm already on chapter like 14, 15, I'm still going to continue reading, but I felt like, with this chapter here was a good point to stop and really just talk about the series, my overall impression so far, is that you have a character basically called the director here, and she's legitimately just trying to record a movie. Like, she cares about recording a movie, and she wants to record literally our MC Agni, or Fire Punch Man, or Fireman, whatever word she wants to throw to him, she wants to record him while he tries to get his vengeance. And it's a very meta story. I have to say, I love the depiction, it's very meta, but the point I'm trying to make is that Fujimoto obviously loves cinema. He loves film. And when you see this from Fire Punch, and you look at, let's say, Goodbye Eri, and different things he's done throughout, let's say, Chainsaw Man, he really is such a unique offer. One of the most unique offers I really, like I said, I've ever had the privilege to getting to read of their work, because I really am liking Fire Punch, and I want to make sure that is fundamentally clear, is that if you think Chainsaw Man is like Fujimoto on something, like the man is obviously doing something crazy, I would say that Fire Punch cranks that up to 100. Like, it goes way beyond, at least from what I've seen so far, way beyond already what Chainsaw Man has done. And Chainsaw Man does have some pretty dark stuff, but I think it has to do with maybe the magazine that Chainsaw Man came out in. As we know, Chainsaw Man came out in, Weekly Shonen Jump. Obviously, in Weekly Shonen Jump, they can't go to the exact extremes as other magazines, which Fire Punch obviously wasn't in Weekly Shonen Jump, so it was able to do a lot more extremes than, let's say, Chainsaw Man was. So who really knows? But the point is thanks to the lack of restriction, thanks to the magazine, Fire Punch really goes to show the absolute insanity in how far Fujimoto-sensei is willing to push the overall boundary of what may be allowed or what is tasteful, let's say, in a manga. So let's get into that. This chapter is chapter 7, and I have seen this image right here. I'm not going to repeat the words for obvious reasons, thanks to YouTube probably not liking the words that's going to be said, but basically, it's very obvious how messed up of a writer Fujimoto can be. Like, just this alone. Like, this really puts in perspective just how tame Chainsaw Man is. And this is literally in the first 10 chapters. This is chapter 7 of Fire Punch. And I was just like, okay, That's messed up. But it gets just worse. Like, it just gets so much more. Like, the characters are so blunt and open about some things. Like, this character's dialogue right here, it's just like, holy crap, there is no filter. There is no censor. And speaking of no filter or censor, I tried to read this series actually on my phone, like the Viz Media app, like, or the Shonen Jump Viz Media app, which, as you can see, I'm reading this on Viz Media, an official source. But if you try to read Fire Punch on the Viz Media / Shonen Jump app on your phone, you can't read it. You cannot read Fire Punch. I did not know that. I legit had no idea I couldn't read Fire Punch on my mobile phone. It's probably because of App Store restrictions or whatever, for what I could find out. But that's kind of wild. It goes to show you the gravity of the situation, of how dark Fire Punch is, that literally they can't even allow this series to be read on, like, the app, because it's that dark. That's, wow. I mean, to be fair, one of those chapters from Chainsaw Man got censored as well, and it's not on the app too. There is literally a chapter that is not on the Viz Media app. So, food for thought there. But anyways, getting back on topic though, I really love the meta commentary that we get throughout these early chapters. And as someone, once again, I haven't been spoiled. I don't know how the ending is. I don't know if it's a good ending, bad ending, etc. I've heard a lot of good from Fire Punch over the years, and also since, you know, Fujimoto is obviously a very well-established mangaka now, and he has made quite the name for himself with Chainsaw Man. I felt like going back to the roots of where it all began, basically, would be a good bird's-eye view of to just see how far he has come as a writer/author. And when I take a good glance at Fire Punch, one thing that does really stick out with me is that his writing is definitely more chaotic in nature in this early stages of the story. And what I mean by chaotic, I'm not just meaning just like there's just like chaos, like just the story's chaos. But in a way, I do mean that as well. It just, his writing hasn't really found a form. That is one thing I noticed in the early stages of these chapters of Fire Punch, is that it's very confusing. It's a jumbled mess, and it tries to focus on world building, even though at the cost of some of the character development. And the thing is that knowing how Fujimoto is as an author now, thanks to, you know, Chainsaw Man, Goodbye Eri, and other one-shots he's done, he's a very good writer. He knows what he's doing. But you could definitely see the early origins of him really trying to find his style, trying to find what works for him, how he does paneling. Like, you can really see the early stages of his paneling, like right here on the right, that he uses later on in Chainsaw Man to Goodbye Eri. Like, seriously, like, if we pull up, like, scenes from Goodbye Eri, like, these type of panels, you can see where he really started to love this type of stuff. He loved these, like, film reel type panels, and he uses that in, you know, his manga as well in the early stages, but you can see it was less refined as it is now. I really like that. I don't know, I love seeing just how far his artwork has come since then. Now, getting back into the story and how I feel about it so far, since, like I said myself, I'm only on chapter, like, 13, I've actually read a chapter after this and all that, chapter 14, really good chapter. Really like where the direction of the story is going with how he's having his little mini training arc, and we're finally going to be getting character development for him. I'll talk about that in a second. But the point is the early stages of this story is, to put it bluntly, very difficult to follow. It is. It is very difficult, and once again, it goes along with the nature of just his writing. He's chaos. Fujimoto literally writes chaos, because everything is just so confusing, there's so much going on, the writing style to the characters and how wacky they are, it stands out. It legitimately stands out, and thanks to how he does this, and how he writes his stuff, his stories and characters, is why he's become so popular. But, in terms of the themes, I guess let's talk about that. What is actually Fire Punch about, okay? Obviously, I've talked about the meta-commentary of, like, you know, being a director and, you know, watching the story of our MC that's literally on fire. But what is the story actually about? So, basically, the story is about our main character, Agni. From a very early age, he was born with this blessed ability, and so was his sister. Basically, this ability allowed him to regenerate. He was able to pretty much regenerate instantly. He probably doesn't have the capabilities, let's say, Majin Buu from Dragon Ball, or Cell to that extreme, but he does have insane capabilities of regeneration. He cannot die. We don't know exactly how far his regeneration could go, but he has been, like, shot, he's been obviously burning for years, etc., and he has not died. So, it's clear he does have very insane regeneration, but there has to probably eventually be a limit to where he no longer can regenerate it, unless he is actually immortal. That could also be the case. But, anyways, from an early age, he and his sister are blessed humans, basically, and people within this world, they have different abilities. Like, some people can use, let's say, sparks or electricity, some could be fire, and fire will only go out after, let's say, the person dies. And also, you have someone that's basically immortal or regenerative capabilities. And it seems like this world has established that there could be multiple of the same ability. For instance, the sister and the brother having regenerative capabilities. We see multiple people throughout these chapters that, are able to regenerate. Like the director here, apparently she also is really strong with, with regeneration. Like she's able to regenerate at very quick speeds. We don't know necessarily if it's on the same level as our MC Agni, but she is obviously able to regenerate very, very quickly. So because of that, we know abilities can be the same from multiple characters, and I do like them. Also, once again, the meta-commentary on that, where the director here, this character, starts talking about how, oh, this is kind of boring, characters sharing the same exact abilities, etc. It's just very boring, it's very repetitive, and I do like that level of detail that really explains manga as well. Like, when you go to different manga series with shonen powers, etc., people don't like seeing the exact same ability over and over. They like to see flashier and different moves. That's why transformations are a thing. So, I do think that's really cool. But back on topic, though, basically, he has regenerative capabilities, and, the entire world is covered in snow and ice. Like, the world is cursed, basically. The world is in a post-apocalyptic era. Everything is frozen. Everybody is suffering, but you have some people that have these blessed abilities. We don't necessarily know why these blessed abilities are, where they came from, etc., but obviously, people have them. And we know that this character right here, the director, apparently has been around for like 300-something years, so that just shows the overall length of how long these blessed abilities have been around. But anyways, the point stands is that the world has ended. It's completely covered in ice, and humanity is struggling on. We have our main male character, Agni, and with his sister, they basically got captured, and they literally started getting used as human meat farms. You can kind of put that in your head of what I mean by that. It's very clear. If you have regenerative capabilities, the world is starving, covered in ice, no real vegetation, you can put A and B together. I don't need to explain that. But the point is eventually they escaped, and you have this guy that has the ability that has fire. This fire only goes out if the person he targets dies. So, for instance, if he lights you on fire, that fire will never go out unless you die. So, you move over into our MC. He's internally on fire because, obviously, he's not dying. He regenerates too quickly. So, he's constantly in pain. He is feeling pain, burning, etc. It is just absolutely a very miserable existence. It took him 8 years just to be able to walk and breathe properly after the whole experience of literally being lit on fire. It has to just be absolute pain. Misery, even. So, he is someone that is out seeking vengeance because his sister was basically killed off by him. So, it's a revenge story. And the meta level to this is that the director wants to record this said story while he goes and gets his vengeance. And I think that's really cool. It adds a little spin to the normal story, and it makes us question, is he really only fueled by, vengeance, or is there a lot more going on with him than that? So yeah, it's interesting. Fire Punch is legitimately interesting manga so far. Now, getting into the dark and gritty content, there is a lot of gritty content. I mean, like I said, this panel alone, there is a lot of, just talk that is obviously not meant for, let's say, a Weekly Shonen Jump audience. I mean, you have a lot that happens within, this overall manga that's just disturbing. And I'm just like, okay, this manga really does not shy away from very difficult and taboo topics. I'm really shocked about that, because it's been a long time since I've really seen an author not really care and just go all in. They don't give a crap. They just go all in. And I know people want to probably reference maybe interspecies reviewers or redo of Hiller, but there is a certain line. And I feel like Fujimoto, as an author, he pushes the boundary. He doesn't care about boundaries whatsoever. He continues to push on forward through it and go to the absolute extreme as far as he can go. I dare say some of the content, the way it is presented within Fire Punch, is definitely on the more extreme side as Berserk, or even worse maybe than Berserk. Berserk is bad in terms of some of its extreme content, but holy crap, Fire Punch, man. And this is just the beginning. It's legitimately just the beginning. You know, like the beginning of the manga that I've started to read. Now, let's talk about the actual artwork. Obviously, the artwork looks very traditional. It looks very much like Fujimoto's style, as I've already pointed out, with like the camera film, like type panels, etc. And you can really see just the evolution of his art. Like, if you go to like Goodbye Eri here, and you look at his art style, you can really see the evolution of his art. Like, you can see the similarities, but his art really has evolved a lot since then. And I love seeing this in authors, just seeing how authors really improve upon their work, and how they just get better and better as time goes on, like the way he draws backgrounds, etc. It's really nice. So, yeah, Fire Punch as a series. I'm going to keep reading it. I'll keep you guys updated. I'll do an update video as I continue reading it, either as I get in the middle of an arc. So if there is one thing I can take away from this manga so far that I've read of it, is that Fujimoto is a very gifted author/writer. He is someone that isn't afraid to do what he wants. He is someone that is willing to break boundaries, go past the limits of what normal people would usually do, and he really showcases why he has just stood the test of time so far as an author in the industry. And I do think that getting to see just how Fire Punch is as a series, despite its obvious gritty, dark nature and content that could be questionable for a lot of people and make people turn away and not even want to start the story, I do think that there is always a place for stories like this because of how dark it legitimately can get. Because I feel like there needs to be stuff like this for people to talk about the hard topics or do things that might be questionable in some people's eyes. So I do think that Fire Punch overall is definitely not going to be something for everyone. I think anyone that likes Chainsaw Man will probably enjoy Fire Punch, but there is those that might not really realize just how depraved Fujimoto could probably get as an author if he wants to. And I feel like many that might think that Chainsaw Man goes too far probably are not ready for what Fire Punch really has in store for them. Because I know I wasn't. I mean, I knew some of the content with the memes or the panels, etc. But getting to actually read it and get context to a lot of the stuff is just like, whoa. It's kind of mind-blowing, honestly. So, overall, how do I feel about the manga? What would I rate it? So far, getting to just see the overall nature of Fujimoto's work, like, you know, just getting to see the origin story and then seeing what he's kind of evolved into, I think I would easily give this, at least story-wise right now and everything, a 7 out of 10. Now, the reason why some might think 7 out of 10 is low is because it's very early stages. And as I said, the story definitely feels very chaotic in not the best of ways. I feel like you could definitely see that he was a very young author still at this point, trying to find what direction he wants to take stories and writing. And you can see him really trying to find himself with Fire Punch and how he likes to temper the chaos in Chainsaw Man, so to speak. So I think that, yeah, legitimately, it's probably going to get better as I continue to read it, because a lot of people have high praise for Fire Punch, but we'll see when I get there. I will probably do a follow-up video in the future. I'll either do a follow-up video maybe in the middle of an arc or something that interests me, like if it's a really good arc and something that I need to talk about, I'll make a video on it. But if not, I'll just make an overall review of this series and how I felt about the conclusion, etc. in a follow-up video. But for now, I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching this video and, you know, leaving a like, comment, etc. It always helps me out a lot. And also, I do want to shout out the rain that's been background ambiance for this entire video. I actually had my power go off briefly in this recording. You might notice with the little jump cut that happens in the middle of the video. But yeah, there legitimately was, some issues with, let's say, the power. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.